Independent editorial defense analysis focused on Australia's strategic environment.
The vast maritime expanses of the Indo-Pacific impose a singular tyranny upon military planners. It renders the operational ranges of traditional tactical aircraft insufficient for modern strategic competition. This geographical reality has forced a divergence in how Allied nations approach the problem of power projection. It has created a distinct bifurcation in unmanned aerial system development between the United States and Australia. While often grouped together under the broad banner of alliance modernization or loyal wingman concepts, the trajectory of the Boeing MQ-28 Ghostbat and the MQ-25 Stingray reveals two fundamentally different strategic philosophies. One is designed to preserve the relevance of existing capital assets through specialized support. The other seeks to disrupt the traditional cost models of air combat through affordable mass. Understanding this distinction is critical for assessing the future force structure of the Royal Australian Air Force and its interoperability with United States naval aviation. The recent commencement of taxi tests for the production variant of the MQ-25 Stingray in late January 2026 marks a pivotal moment for the United States Navy. Yet it also highlights the immense technical and doctrinal friction involved in integrating unmanned systems into legacy environments. The Stingray is not primarily a combatant, but an enabler. It is designed to extend the combat radius of the carrier air wing by serving as an organic aerial refueling tanker. From a systemic perspective, the MQ-25 is an expensive answer to a specific vulnerability. The limited range of the F-35C and FA-18 Super Hornet currently forces aircraft carriers to operate dangerously close to shore-based anti-access and area denial envelopes. By procuring a high-end carrier-capable drone with a unit cost estimated between $130 million and $150 million US, the United States is investing in the survivability of its carrier battle groups rather than expanding its offensive fleet numbers. The focus here is on the preservation of the platform. This justifies a higher cost per unit and a more cautious development timeline that has seen initial operational capability shift toward late fiscal year 2027. In sharp contrast, the Australian approach with the MQ-28 Ghostbat represents a shift toward a philosophy of attritable mass. Here, the value lies not in the individual airframe, but in the collective effect of the formation. The confirmation by Boeing Australia regarding the production of Block II variants suggests that the program has successfully transitioned from a risk reduction prototype to a defined capability acquisition. With the Australian government committing an additional 1.4 billion Australian dollars to the program, the Ghostbat is positioning itself as a sovereign capability. It addresses the specific limitations of a middle power with a small but technologically advanced air force. Unlike the Stingray, which is tethered to the complex logistics of carrier operations, the MQ-28 is designed for runway independence and high-speed maneuvers. It operates as a fighting partner to crewed assets like the F-35A and E-7A Wedgetail. The strategic calculus here implies that Australia cannot afford to match potential adversaries hull for hull in a conventional buildup. This necessitates a system that multiplies the combat power of a single manned jet for roughly 10 to 15 million US dollars per unit. This price differential is approximately 1/10 the cost of a manned fighter. It introduces a new variable into the force structure equation: the willingness to accept loss. For the Royal Australian Air Force, the integration of Block II Ghostbats signifies a move toward a distributed lethality model. If a Ghostbat is lost to enemy fire while protecting a crewed asset or gathering intelligence in a contested zone, the financial and operational impact is absorbed by the system design. This contrasts with the MQ-25. The loss of a tanker drone would degrade the entire air wing's ability to return to the ship, making the Stingray a critical node that must be protected rather than expended. Consequently, the operational behavior of these two systems will differ radically in practice. The Ghostbat will likely operate forward of the manned force, penetrating high-threat envelopes, whereas the Stingray will operate in the rear, tethered to the logistical safety of the fleet. The industrial implications of this divergence are equally significant for Australia's defense sovereignty. The MQ-28 program utilizes a supply chain that is over 70% Australian, involving more than 35 local suppliers. This high level of domestic content reduces reliance on foreign intellectual property transfer. It allows Canberra to modify the system's software and sensor payloads without navigating the often cumbersome international traffic and arms regulations that govern United States military exports. This autonomy provides the Royal Australian Air Force with the agility to adapt the platform's nose cone modules, switching between sensors, electronic warfare, or kinetic payloads at a pace dictated by regional threat evolution rather than foreign bureaucratic approval. It suggests a maturation of the Australian defense industry from a component supplier to a prime systems integrator, a capability gap that has historically plagued national defense strategies. Furthermore, the relationship between these two platforms illuminates the changing nature of the AUKUS alliance structure. Now, while Pillar 2 of the agreement focuses on advanced technology sharing, the Ghostbat offers a rare instance where the United States is the potential client rather than the provider. The United States Air Force and Navy have both expressed interest in the underlying technologies of the MQ-28 for their own collaborative combat aircraft programs. This indicates a potential reversal in the traditional flow of military hardware. If the MQ-28 achieves export success or is adopted by United States services, it would validate the Australian strategy of investing in niche, high-tech asymmetric capabilities. However, this also introduces a risk of industrial-based strain. The demand for rapid production could outpace the capacity of the nascent production facilities in Queensland, forcing a trade-off between satisfying domestic operational needs and fulfilling alliance export potential. From an operational standpoint, the synergy between the two systems will likely define Allied air power in the coming decade. A hypothetical coalition task force could see MQ-25s refueling Australian F-35s to reach the combat zone, where they would then link up with forward-deployed MQ-28s for the terminal engagement phase. This tiered architecture relies on seamless data links and cross-domain solutions, such as the recently contracted CDS version 5.1 for the MQ-25, to ensure that fuel, targeting data, and situational awareness flow uninterrupted between platforms designed by different nations for different primary missions. The challenge, therefore, it moves beyond the aerodynamic performance of the airframes to the resilience of the digital backbone that connects them. The recent taxi tests and missile firing trials are merely physical validations of what is ultimately a software-defined contest. The divergence in design philosophy also reflects a broader debate regarding the future of air superiority. The American investment in the MQ-25 reinforces the centrality of the aircraft carrier. It is betting that legacy power projection tools can be adapted to survive modern anti-access environments. The Australian investment in the MQ-28 bets on a newer, less proven concept of human-machine teaming where mass and dispensability replace invulnerability. This introduces a strategic hedge for the alliance. if carrier battle groups are pushed too far back by long-range missiles, and the distributed, runway-independent nature of systems like the Ghostbat may provide the only viable means of contesting airspace inside the denial zone. Conversely, without the logistical reach provided by systems like the MQ-25, the endurance of high-performance combat drones remains operationally constrained. Ultimately, the analysis of these two programs suggests that there is no single template for unmanned air power. The capabilities are shaped by the specific structural anxieties of their host nations. The American anxiety over carrier relevance and the Australian anxiety over strategic depth and force size. As these programs mature, the metric of success will not merely be the attainment of technical milestones like initial operational capability, but the extent to which they allow defense planners to rewrite the rules of engagement. The integration of these systems forces a re-evaluation of risk calculus, logistical dependencies, and the economic sustainability of high-intensity conflict. Creating a complex ecosystem where the high-value logistical enabler and the low-cost combat disruptor must coexist to maintain credible deterrence.